Okay, really interesting end to the Vikings-Steelers game. We didn't think it was going to be an interesting end to this game, so let's pause it right here to set the stage. The Steelers were up 24-6. It is now 24-14, and it's about to look even worse than that. Carson Wentz makes this throw, and the Steelers just blow this coverage. Jordan Addison is completely wide open. Someone was supposed to cover him. No one's there. You have, right now, Peyton Wilson, who's a linebacker. This wasn't his job to cover Jordan Addison down the field. He's just in the area and is the closest guy and trying to make something happen. Watch as he's going to hustle, and he's going to somehow run down fast wide receiver Jordan Addison. Addison ends up getting tackled at the 1. Your screen didn't freeze. I have paused it here for a reason, because there's 3 minutes and 14 seconds left on the clock. Had Addison just stepped into the end zone, then he probably scores right around here, 3:14, maybe 3:13 or 3:12, but he's scoring right around here, right? But because he was tackled at the 1 yard line, still in bounds, that means the clock is going to continue to run. While here, we go to 4th down and goal, the Vikings would ultimately, eventually get the ball into the end zone. I'll pause it again. You're now all the way down to 2:08 left in the game with only 1 timeout. This burned over a minute of clock, that tackle, even if they weren't actually able to get the, get the stop. It still ended up being a big deal. In fact, such a big deal, the Vikings felt the need to go for an onside kick, a play they probably wouldn't have had to do had they still had, an extra minute left. So this is what they decided to do. As you see, the Steelers are going to recover, because usually you recover onside kicks. They're difficult plays to pull off. And now the Steelers not only have the ball in a lot less time on the clock, with the Vikings only having 1 timeout, but they get good field position on top of it. But now we got to go over here. It's a 3rd down and 1 situation. So for the Steelers, again, I'm pausing it to set the stage. They convert here. Hey, none of that matters. They're getting the 1st down. They can kill the clock. This game is over. However, the Vikings, for the first time, are able to get a stop here, it seems like, in the run defense game. They're able to, in a key spot there as well. All of a sudden, they're able to force Mike Tomlin to make a decision. Mike Tomlin makes a curious decision here. They're going to elect to try and get them to jump off sides. They have no timeouts left, so they're taking the delay of game. They decide to punt it, and it looks like they punt it intentionally out of the back of the end zone. Let's pause it right before we get to the next Vikings play and talk about that for a second. Again, only need about half a yard to win the game. You're at your opponent's 40. This only gives you 20 yards of field position. It feels like it's probably worth the risk of 20 yards of field position for the potential benefit of being able to win the football game, right? Now, immediately it looked like it was going to be a, who cares, because Wentz through what looked to be an interception, but on review, it was bobbled. The Steelers player then recovered it, but by the time he recovered it, he was only able to get 1 foot in bounds. There's no angle that shows both of those two things happening, but there are angles that show each one of them happening, and you are allowed to piece those two together to get the confirmation. They get the confirmation, no turnover. But then that takes us over to here. So it's a 1st down and 10 situation, and pressure has been an issue with the injured Vikings offensive line in this game. As you see, it's going to be an issue again. Pressure gets through. Wentz tries to get out of it and then just throws one, and you got to throw that away earlier. It's an intentional grounding penalty, which actually isn't the worst thing in the world, because it's a 10-second runoff, but it probably would have been worse than that, trying to get everyone back to the line and calling a play and everything. So I think in this scenario, it's actually not the end of the world to have the grounding, as opposed to, just getting sacked, although you do lose yardage as well, which is obviously difficult. But given that he was, more than 10 yards back anyway, you don't actually lose any additional yardage. So, it's going to be a 2nd and 17, but they have a chance. Heading over here, they would gain some yards on that 2nd down, but they had to spike it. So again, let's pause it here. 14 seconds left. They spike it on 3rd down just because they have no time left. Again, would have really liked to have that extra minute if it wasn't for that, that great hustle play. So now on 4th and 18, if it was 3rd and 18, you could have the whole playbook. Now you just got to go for it. Wentz goes for it, can't quite make the play, and it's interesting how little things can come back to make a difference. That hustle play ultimately did change how this game was won or lost. Maybe the Steelers still win, but they definitely won because of that play. Great job by Peyton Wilson. Give him some credit.